Welcome everybody to another Revizto Deep Dive. Today is August 20th and we are going to be running through how Revizto works and some of the basics of why Revizto is fundamentally different than traditional ways of coordination. So this is kind of a bittersweet moment being August 20th. This is going to be the last deep dive we're going to have on Revizto 4.0, which really has transformed, Revizto as a product. For those of you guys that have been long customers, you probably remember Revizto when it used to be broken up into 3 segments. You had the Revizto issue tracker, you had Revizto viewer, and you had the Revizto editor. So we are making a massive leap. So I highly recommend you join our next deep dive with Revizto 5.0. The same premises that you're going to see today and the power is going to be the exact same. So the principles of how Revizto works really doesn't change much in 5.0, but we do take a step into being able to isolate specific objects, to have, to be able to Google the model. And if you're not technical in understanding how the model tree sets up, we're able to actually jump in and search for objects in there and be able to find things such as doors or specific air handling units and things of that nature. So really highly recommend you sign up for our next deep dive, which is going to be on Revizto 5.0. But today, let's run through Revizto 4.9 and show you what all is in here and some of the new benefits that were added in our last release. So for those of you guys not familiar with Revizto, Revizto is fundamentally split up into 3 different portions. So we have our 3D, which is going to be the 3-dimensional aspect of the software. So if we jump in here and we go to click on something, if we're not technical inside of Revit, we can double click and you're actually going to see all the metadata and information within here. So this is coming in from that design file, and all that information is federated into this game engine file. We have our 2D. So for most of you guys familiar, you may say, oh, great, this is just another PDF viewer. However, Revizto can read PDFs, but it actually makes these PDFs back to the intelligent version they started as. So I always joke that the irony of our industry is that we have this very, very heavy intelligent model with all this information inside of Revit. And when we convert to the personal document format, the PDF, we actually lose that data. So it just becomes really just a screenshot, one step better than a paper document we used to print out on those big printers and take into the field. So if I click jump to 3D, a really quick idea or understanding of why this isn't a PDF. If I said, hey, you know what, we are going to check out this hallway over here, and I double click, it actually takes me into the hallway. So the reason is because Revizto understands the intelligence behind that this specific sheet, in this case, the level 2 floor plan, has a specific location, that has specific XYZ value and elevation associated with it. So any place we want to click in the model, jump to 3D, and let's jump over here to the stairwell. And it's going to take us to that stairwell. So very easy way to be able to navigate, but really is going to fundamentally break down why Revizto is different than others. And you're going to see me referring to the XYZ coordinates and how this interacts with the model throughout today's demo. Another note, this will be recorded, and if there's any questions, feel free to put them into the chat. We got close to 100 people today, so feel free to jump in there, and I'm going to stick around after this recording's done and answer any questions you guys might have. So feel free to throw those in the chat, and we'll save some time at the end to answer them. So running through the actual 2D aspect, there's a few other aspects that you may recognize here. So first off, there's going to be this little green button here. If we select that, and this works with any plan, detail, or elevation that you bring in. So in this case, we have a mix of our sheets, our construction documents, bringing in from Procore docs as well as BIM 360. And we can see that we're adding that intelligence back in, and we can see that these line up, these penetrations line up with the actual plan, and we can compare what we have on our plan, on our construction document versus what we have in our model, which hopefully is the same. So we can detach that sheet, pull it up here, and maybe we want to pull some of those through to kind of get an idea of where these are living. And we can compare any of these 2D and 3D models as well. So the next thing you'll notice within 2D is that if we come down here and I actually turn on my markups, we have intelligent markups. So these markups could have been taken inside of Revit, they could have been made in Navisworks, it could have been made in Tekla, They could have been made in a number of different places, Civil 3D and MicroStation, etc. And they're going to show up inside of here or in our exterior civil model as well. So if we want to group these, we can actually slide this little cluster and they're going to intelligently group. So we can see that looks like 75% of these are red in this area, which means that they are unopened or not addressed yet. And then we can see the orange ones here and then some green that have been solved. But as we kind of scroll out, it's going to create this heat map that's very dynamic. So Revizto is going to have this intelligent aspect to this to say, you know what, maybe we're just concerned, let's pan out a little bit. We're just concerned about these 76 issues over here. And as I click those 76 issues, you can see that it's actually going to filter all 76 issues inside of the issue tracker. So the other cool thing in here is then we can stop, we can uncluster, and we can kind of see that those problem areas and where they fit inside of this specific model, and where those problems really lie down here. We can then even boil down to further issues. Maybe we're just worried about our mechanical issues. And as I start to type in mechanical, it's going to filter just our mechanical issues in this quadrant of the building. So I'll just reset this and we're going to jump into our third portion of the software. And this is why everybody jumps over to Revizto is going to be our issue tracker. So this is where the bread and butter of Revizto is. This is where we spend all of our research and development and our time is basically in issue tracker. That's how it's been since 2005 or 2015 when I first started here. And we can jump into the issue tracker and we can start to track issues in 2D and 3D on a point cloud, inside of Revit, inside of Navisworks, a number of different ways. So we're going to start off here and we're just going to identify a quick 3D issue I discovered earlier when we were navigating, and that was some issues with our stairs. And let me see where it must have been up here. Yep, here they are. So here's that stairwell that I jumped in earlier. I saw those pipes coming across. So what I'll do is I'm going to jump into this stamp button, and we have a number of different categories. So this is our sample project. So we have a boatload of categories here, but I'm just going to jump in and say, you know what, we got a HVAC issue here. We'll just use our mechanical project manager punch here. And we'll just add that in there. So MPM is this mechanical aspect in this project. And again, these are all customizable from the categories to the colors, to the name, to the abbreviation. And you can categorize this in a number of creative ways. So we've seen customers, label those as specific company names. They've labeled them as phases of the project. They've labeled them as, specific owner requests that may be coming in and have an owner-driven request category and then broken those up into different categories and colors. So you can be extremely creative with doing this. So the beauty of this is when we drop this stamp, you can notice that this is called Mechanical Project Manager is our example. We can assign a deadline. Hey, we want this done by the end of the month. And then we can actually assign it to the proper individual. This is automatically assigned to me, but I'm going to change it to David Gomez, who is one of our construction customer success specialists on our team. And then we'll come in and we can add in a bunch of different information to this, as well as type in and comment on this. Hey, David, please have a look. And all this stuff is going to be timestamped and dated. So I'll just come in and I'm going to additionally mark this up. So this may look like your standard PDF or screenshot. And I'll just say test webinar the 20th of August. Select done, and we can kind of manipulate that and change the color and do a number of other things that you'd expect to be able to do in a platform like Revizto. I'll select done here, and what you'll notice is now you can see that initial markup that I made, but now if David comes in here, he goes, you know what, I don't really agree with that. I really think that we should move this over here. And David adds this big stamp here. I'm just going to change the opacity here to 30%, and we'll just pick out a different color for David because we're pretending to be David. And I'll select done. So as I've added that in there, what you'll notice is inside of the issue tracker, we have this mechanical issue that's assigned to David in blue. And then we have all the information throughout the life cycle of this issue. So today it's 11:08 a.m. here in Central Time. And we can see change deadline. This is what happened at 11:08. Then I changed it to David Gomez. And then a minute later, I said, hey, David, please have a look. And then I made this markup. Well, you can imagine if this is taking weeks to address, and we have a number of different players collaborating on this, from the field team to folks in our BIM or VDC team, to the owner or whoever else it may be. We can click on this and we can actually see what was added at what time. So I can see the difference in 1 minute at 11:09 versus 10, what was added in there. And it becomes this collaborative kind of Google Doc style collaboration here. The other beauty of this is it's not just this dumb screenshot that has this intelligent feature to it. If we select 3D and we want to come in here and get a better information of, okay, well, whose pipe is this? We can actually double click on this pipe and see that information inside of the model. And we can see exactly what's the element ID to this, what's, whose pipe was this, what model did it come from, all this different information that typically in a screenshot, we could obviously click on it until we're blue in the face, and we're not going to understand that it came from the RME advanced sample model coming from 2020, our Revit file here. So if we jump back to the issue tracker, there's another capability to give people who may not be 3D minded the ability to really understand where this came from. So we have a number of different ways to be able to consume this information. So one of my favorites is we can select this 2D document. It's going to show us exactly where that was taken in the floor. And even though we created this in 3D, it's showing up in 2D with the rest of these. So we see that MPM stamp there, and we know that all of these MPM or all of our blue stamps are going to be mechanical. And actually shows the color underneath here is the status of that specific issue. So let me just jump into our mechanical one, and I'll just change to solved. And you'll notice if I click off of this and we look at the stamp, it's now turning green. So it went from red to green because that stamp is solved and ready to be closed out by one of the admins on the project. So really powerful to be able to see how this works into not only a 3D, but also a 2D aspect. So the next part of this is maybe we're not really concerned about where it falls on our level 2 mechanical or on our level 2 floor plan, but maybe we want to see where it falls on our elevation. Or maybe we want to see, and I'm not logged in here to, in this case, box, but we want to see where it falls on our ceiling plan. And we can select these different plans, and it's going to pull up these specific plans because these share the same XYZ coordinate value. So really powerful to see how that works in 2D and 3D, but it's also going to pull up the plans that are affiliated with that, meaning if they share the same XYZ tolerance and it falls on that, it's going to show up on there. So this pipe, this stamp that we just created isn't going to show up on our level 5 ceiling plan. It's going to show up on our, but it will show up on our level 2 floor plan or on our level 2 mechanical plan. So that is how the XYZ coordinates work inside of Revizto. Another big quick feature that I love to use is when I turn on these stamps, we can see we got a lot of stamps here. So maybe I'm only worried out of our 1,600 project issues, I am only worried about a few different stamps here. So I'm going to come in, I'm going to create a custom filter, and we can really stack this from what's the deadline do we want to see? Show me only issues due in the next 3 days. And it's going to filter these 1,600 issues down to ones that are just due, this week. We can clear this out and go back to the specific type of issue that we're looking for. So we're going to come into stamp category, and I am going to do that mechanical one. So we'll do MEP, we'll do trade mechanical, and we'll do facility management, and maybe we'll add a couple other ones in there as well. But you get the point of when we come in here and we select a couple of these mechanical ones, we can see that we went from 1,600 issues to just these issues that are related to the example I just created. So here how we can see that stamp that we solved here. It also turns green, obviously, in 3D. And so now as we're flying through the model, we're only seeing issues that are really related to mechanical. So it really cleans up this project just by a quick, simple click of issues that are relevant to us. So if we're working with the owner and we want to show just the owner-driven request because the owner doesn't care about how many 90s are in 100-foot run of pipe, he's just worried about the owner-driven request that he wants to have the bigger conversation about, we can do that. So another way I like to understand where these project issues are in terms of 2D and as well as navigation. So let's just jump back to, we got another issue over here, and I'm curious where I kind of fall in the plan. Maybe I'm lost inside of the model. Well, if I click this map button or the M on my keyboard, it's going to pull me up and it's going to show my exact elevation. So in this case, I'm at 5 foot, almost 6 foot of elevation, and I can scroll in. I can see, here I am over there, and we can see the direction I'm facing as well as the rest of the project. But if I come in here and I say, hey, you know what, let's check out level 1. It's going to recut this to level 1, and I can see kind of where those issues fall on level 1. If I come here to level 3, it's going to recut it. It's going to show me my issues that fall on level 3. And I say, hey, you know what, let's jump over here to level 3. We got a couple issues over here, and let's double click, and we can come in here and we can actually see all those issues that we're seeing on that plan, and see kind of where they fall in the project in a very, very easy way to navigate. And all this is based off the XYZ coordinate. So again, one other example, I love this M key on our keyboard. If you guys haven't seen me talk about Revizto before, I always have to mention that. But I'm going to jump over here to the level 1 floor plan, and we're going to jump over to the cafeteria. And again, if I want to check out some of these issues inside of the cafeteria, just double click. It takes me right to the cafeteria. I don't have to try to fly or navigate in there. Especially easy when you're working on a tablet. If you're on the field, it's just M on your keyboard. Select the level you want to go. It's going to cut the model to that specific level, and then all you do is just touch with your finger and it takes you to that specific location. For those of you guys not familiar with our field app, I think that's a great intro into how that works. So when I call it our field app, it's really just Revizto in the field, because it's the same application running on a tablet seamlessly. It is absolutely incredible in terms of the experience you get for model viewing and capability. It is extremely powerful, and it's very, very easy to use. So you're getting that 2D aspect that you're used to in the field, as well as the ability to go to 3D and see the 3D model. So we have teams that, their team will still just stick in a 2D format, and they're just going to be looking at these 2D documents that are coming in from Box, or coming in from Procore, or coming in from BIM 360, or wherever it may be. On the flip side, though, we do have customers starting to utilize the 3D aspect. They're looking at the point cloud, or they're looking at the model, and they're verifying, things that they see in the 2D document, and seeing how that lays out and how that may affect other trades later down the road on the project. In terms of navigation, this is another way we can navigate. This is going to be my third choice, but it seems to be a really popular one. So if we don't know exactly what we're looking for, we can say, you know what, I know we're on level 3, we're working here, and yeah, let's see what rooms we got left here. Let's come to the chemistry room here, and if we click it, it actually transports us into that specific room. So if I click the elevator, it's going to take me to the elevator. If I click the auditorium, obviously it's going to take us there. And again, we can verify where that room is just by clicking M on our keyboard again, and it's going to show us, the grid lines and the scope of where exactly we're located. Whereas if I go to a different level on that specific project, such as level 1, and we click the cleaning room, and again, we don't know where we are, we click M on our keyboard, and it's going to show us exactly where that cleaning room is, pulling in those Revit room names and giving that ability to access that information that really has been done by the design team for years. We just really haven't had a great way to access that or transport to that area unless we've been technical inside of programs like Revit. Sectioning is going to be another aspect that we just improved heavily, and as simple as this is, it is funny how much people love the sectioning aspect. And the best part is in 5.0, it gets even better with the ability to section full point clouds, not just OBJs inside of Revizto. So let's just jump into here, and I'll give you a quick example. So very easily, we pull up our section button. If we click on any surface, we can cut really easily. So this works the same way on the iPad. You can see it's very seamless in how easy it is to use this. But if we click on the floor, it's going to allow us to cut then on the floor level as well. Sometimes though, when we're creating a quick section box to maybe pull something into Revit via our switchback functionality, we have to do this and swing around the back to maybe edit the back side. So one of the new features that was requested by a company that uses Revizto quite heavily, that we incorporated into the latest 4.9 release, is going to be controlling the back face. So as we're sitting here and we want to actually section a different quadrant of the building, we can just pull just by pointing over there without having to actually spin through that model. And if I want to pull the front, I can then obviously just click off of that, or hit Control and move this back to really size the model up to exactly what we are looking for. So again, a really powerful tool to be able to just manipulate and size the section that you're looking for. And then we can obviously jump in here and create a new issue quite simply just from that specific section box that we've created. The other cool thing is with this section box, even if we press M on our keyboard, we can still see the section of the building. So we can see that we actually sectioned, in this case, the northeast quadrant of the building, and we can see where the rest of the building is. But Revizto is intelligent to understand that this is sectioned in that area and what that portion of it looks like. So if we were to resection to level 1, obviously none of that section that I just cut is in level 1. But if we come to level 2, it's going to show us the portion of that model that was cut in that section. So that's kind of a really cool hidden feature for those of you guys that are familiar with Revizto and how that functions inside of the section cut tool. Another big aspect that we've been working quite heavily on is going to be the reporting. So once we're tracking all of these issues that you guys have seen inside of the issue tracker, inside of Revit using our Revit plugin, inside of Navisworks, Civil 3D, all these different plugins that we had, and it's still populating thousands of issues on your project. So that's great, but if we want to be able to take a business intelligence aspect and actually take a higher level look or show this to management or leadership or the owner, this is where our reporting functionality plays in. And this was brought up and enhanced quite well in Revizto 4.8, I believe. So still pretty new to Revizto in terms of the interface, but a lot of feedback that you guys provided was added in here. So the first thing we can do here is just jump over to the project team. And we can see, here's the people inside of our project. Here's who's accessing it, and we actually have the name of them as well, so we can see, who's been accessing the project and a picture of those individuals as well. We can come into dashboards, and we can see all of our dashboards in this new interface. So the way dashboards function, and this is one of my favorite and most used new features, is we obviously know that reports and information are relevant to usually a small group of people. So if we come in and we have just our architectural clashes, we have a number of charts in our architectural dashboard. So I'm on our architectural dashboard, and we have charts that pertain to those architects. If we go into plumber contract, and we can see that here's all the reports that pertain to our plumber contract, and it's broken out by Revizto, DG Electric. We have some different names in here as well, and you can see not only how many issues they have, but also the percentage of issues that they have. So Dan McKinnon has 11 issues open. That's just over 7% of our total project issues, and we kind of understand workload of people and who and where the project issues are falling on our grand scale from a bigger business level. Looks like Greg Keller here is really been doing some poor work at 21%. He probably has a lot of issues, and maybe we need to think about breaking up those issues and addressing those for Greg. Timelines as well. So we can pull in these specific timeframes and see kind of benchmarking of how our team is doing and the rate that we're actually opening up and solving issues. Are we creating additional issues in the project? Are we actually resolving these? And what does that process look like? So creating a report is very simple. So I actually created a webinar dashboard that I update every single time that we have one here, and I create a new example. So here on the 20th, we'll add a new chart to this, and we're just going to name it August 20th, 2020 webinar because I'm feeling creative. And we are going to break it down by assignee, and instead of chart, I actually really like this bar graph because it kind of shows us the individuals, and we can pull out the different information we're worried about. So because we're picking on mechanical, I'm going to come in and I can add in conditions. So filtering issues by, and I'm going to add in these conditions. I'm only really worried about issues that are based on a clash group. So, or I'm sorry, clash group, a stamp group. So stamp category is any, and then we're going to come in HVAC. That one's pretty important. Pipe punch list, fire protection, electrical. We'll do HVAC. And you can see, because this is a demo project, we have a lot of similarity ones of ones people have created to show clients. But we'll just jump in here and we'll grab a couple more here. Being from Wisconsin, I'm going to have to pick Wisconsin Badgers, and then we'll also do Travis's stamp, who is our MEP guy and the MEP. So we've created these stamps, and now we can come in here and add in an additional filter. So here's here is that specific chart based off of those issues that we've created, and we can see that data behind it. But if we don't like the way this looks, we don't have to go back and redo it. All we have to do is just come in here and say, you know what, I just want to see a pie chart of that, and it's going to break it out. And you know what, that is way too messy. Let's go back to our bar chart, and we can do that, and it all happens instantly. So the next condition I want to add in, and you have endless amounts of conditions you can add. So we have projects that will have 20, 30,000 issues on here, and they want to boil it down to the 14 issues they want to discuss in a meeting that is coming up the following day or the day of. So we'll come in here, add another condition, and this time we're going to do by date. So let's see, close date. Close date is less than 7 days ago, and we'll click save. So this is fundamentally going to change our graph and show us just issues that are closing in 7 days. So in this case, we actually include it. Typically, I wouldn't do this. I would usually exclude issues that were in closed status because we don't want to discuss them. But in this case, we're going to go through and we're going to give credit where credit's due. Sean Hester, who is the director of our construction side of the business on customer success, is done a phenomenal job here in this project, and he's closed out all of his issues. So we're going to give him a big shout out in our meeting. Where Luke Schauer over here at DG Electric Company, Luke works out of our Denver location, and we can come over here and see that Luke has really been slacking here, and we need to add Luke. We need to get Luke fired up in this meeting and make sure that he's addressing these open issues. We'd like to see a lot more in solved next week. So really powerful how we can stack this. And actually, after we saw that Luke's been slacking a little bit, we'll just come up here and instead of doing a delivery schedule, we're just going to send now, and we're going to send it in PDF with our issues. We'll include our company logo and some of the comments, and then we can add in this additional field and send to. I'm just going to go over to Luke Schauer. So add that to Luke Schauer. I click send now, and he gets an early update that, hey, you know what, we have this meeting in 2 days, and looks like you're the person slacking the most in this report, and you should take a look at that before our meeting on Friday. So that is how our reporting works. And again, I could spend a ton of time on this, going into the delivery schedule and how that ties into reports and selecting reports. But again, similar to how Revizto is designed in terms of its platform, this is going to be super intuitive, where you should pretty much be able to click each of these inside of here and be able to figure out really how this functions without spending a whole lot of time. Lastly, I'd like to give a quick shout out to our customer success team. For those of you guys who aren't familiar with how our customer success team works, this is something that we've really worked hard on over the last, probably, I would say 24 to 36 months. We've really started to stack up this customer success team with industry specific individuals to help make sure that this runs smoothly and give you strategies specific to your vertical. So if you're a mechanical contractor, we have a specific mechanical person that works just with our customers on the mechanical side. So this isn't somebody that's just going to give you a demo for, demo of Revizto prior to becoming a customer, but it's somebody that says, once you become a customer, hey, what are the objectives? What does success look like for you guys? In 6 months down the road, what does it look like? 12 months, what does it look like 36 months down the road? What are you trying to accomplish with Revizto? What are corporate objectives that you guys are looking to resolve at your company? And we're going to tie you up with somebody that is familiar with your specific vertical. Almost all of these, if not all of our guys, have worked in that specific vertical. So we have licensed architects on staff, and they're region specific. So we have a specific regional asset for architects in the UK. That's going to be completely different than who works with our architects if you're from Kansas City, Missouri. So something to keep in mind, that is all included inside of the license cost and inside of, that we work with you guys every single year on. So if you guys are a Revizto customer and you're not leveraging those resources, please reach out to your to your territory manager and make sure we get a meeting set up to understand what your objectives are and utilize those resources that you guys have already paid for. We just see a tremendous amount of correlation to success when customers are meeting with that team. Even if it's once a quarter to go over goals and objectives and have somebody, a real person on the line to answer questions that's familiar with your industry, familiar with Revit, familiar with Navisworks, understands the Clash workflow and some of the headaches that you guys deal with on a day-to-day basis. So with that being said, I'll try to keep this recording short, and we're going to stop the recording. But I will stick around for the folks that are still on here to be able to address any questions that you guys may have. But again, we really appreciate you guys jumping on here and spending a ton of time out of your busy day. If you haven't already, please sign up for our newsletter, the Revizto Reporter, which is going to show all of the webinars, trainings, hard hat huddles, and deep dives that we're doing. If you guys aren't familiar with the hard hat huddles, if you guys are tight on time, those are super valuable because they're under 15 minutes and we buzz through these quicker than what I buzzed through this deep dive. And so it's just 15 minutes of your time. You go through a very specific topic. And if it's relevant to you, great, jump on. If not, then maybe catch the next one. So again, I'm going to stop this recording and we'll start to address some questions.